Most people spend their lives playing a game they don't even realize they're losing. They are told that success comes from networking, attend more events, meet more people, collect more contacts, shake more hands, build a bigger circle. And at first glance, it sounds reasonable. After all, if opportunity comes through people, then knowing more people should create more opportunity. But if that were true, why do the most powerful individuals in society rarely spend their time networking? Why aren't top investors attending endless conferences looking for introductions? Why aren't CEOs constantly trying to expand their social circles? Why do the people with the most influence often seem the least interested in meeting new people? Because networking is not the game of people who already have power. It's the game of people trying to get it. The truth is uncomfortable. Most networking is not a strategy for gaining influence. It is a strategy for compensating for the lack of it. People network when they have nothing else that naturally attracts attention. They seek introductions because they lack leverage. They seek visibility because they lack position. They seek approval because they have not yet become necessary. History follows the same pattern again and again. Powerful people do not build influence through relationships. They build influence through value, control, expertise, resources, or decision-making authority. Only after they become valuable do relationships begin forming around them. Think about it. No one cares how many people know your name if your absence changes nothing. Real influence begins when your disappearance creates a problem. When projects slow down without you, when decisions are delayed until you arrive, when people must account for your presence before they move forward. That is when relationships stop being something you chase and start becoming something that chases you. The biggest mistake most ambitious people make is confusing social activity with strategic progress. A full calendar feels productive. A growing contact list feels impressive, but neither creates power. Power is created when you solve a problem so important that ignoring you becomes expensive. Because the market does not reward the person who knows the most people. It rewards the person who becomes the hardest to replace. And that changes everything. The question is no longer, who should I meet? The real question becomes, what can I build, control, or master so well that people start looking for me instead? Because the moment that happens, networking stops being your strategy and starts becoming everyone else's. Most people spend years trying to become known. They want more followers, more recognition, more visibility. They want their name to be remembered, and society encourages this obsession. We're told that if enough people know who we are, opportunities will eventually appear. But there is a dangerous misunderstanding hidden inside that belief. Being known is not the same as being needed. A celebrity can be recognized by millions and still be completely replaceable. A social media influencer can receive endless attention and yet possess very little real influence. Recognition creates familiarity. Need creates power. And the difference between the two is enormous. Think about the people who truly shape outcomes inside organizations, industries, and institutions. Many of them are not famous. Some rarely speak in public. Some have no interest in building a personal brand. Yet when they leave, entire departments struggle. Projects slow down. Decisions are delayed. People suddenly realize how much depended on them. That is not popularity. That is necessity. Most people chase attention because attention feels valuable. It triggers something deep inside human psychology. We naturally associate visibility with importance. If people are watching us, we assume we matter. But attention is often borrowed. Necessity is earned. And borrowed attention disappears the moment people look somewhere else. This is why so many individuals spend years building audiences, but never build influence. They focus on being seen instead of becoming essential. The marketplace does not ultimately reward visibility. It rewards value. The person who can solve a difficult problem. The person who controls a critical resource. The person whose expertise cannot easily be replaced. Those people rarely need to demand attention. Attention finds them. Ask yourself a simple question. If you disappeared tomorrow, what would actually change? Would people merely notice your absence? Or would they feel the consequences of it? Because there is a profound difference between someone being missed and someone being needed. One creates sympathy. The other creates power. This is why the most influential people are often not the loudest voices in the room. They are the people whose involvement changes outcomes, the people whose presence accelerates progress, the people whose absence creates friction. And that is the shift most people never make. They spend their lives trying to become memorable, while the truly powerful focus on becoming indispensable. Because in the end, recognition is fragile, need is permanent, and the moment people begin calculating the cost of losing you, everything changes. You stop competing for attention. You start becoming impossible to ignore. Most people believe that more relationships mean more freedom, more contacts, more connections, more opportunities, more doors opening. But what if the opposite is true? What if every new relationship quietly takes away a piece of your freedom? Think about it. Every relationship comes with an invisible contract. Not a legal contract, a psychological one. The moment someone helps you, an expectation is created. The moment you join a group, loyalty is expected. The moment you build a connection, you inherit obligations that didn't exist before. And most people never notice the cost. They focus on what they gain. They ignore what they owe. This is why powerful people are often far more selective with relationships than ordinary people. The average person believes power comes from expanding their circle. The powerful understand that every new connection creates another person whose expectations must be managed, another opinion to consider, another favor to return, another obligation competing for their time and attention. And attention is the most valuable resource any human being possesses. The more people you must satisfy, the less independently you can move. The more promises you make, the fewer options remain available to you. What many call networking is often the gradual surrender of autonomy. People become trapped inside social obligations they willingly accepted years earlier. They attend events they don't enjoy, support projects they don't believe in, maintain relationships that no longer create value, not because they want to, because they feel they have to. And that is how dependence quietly disguises itself as connection. History offers the same lesson repeatedly. The individuals with the greatest influence were rarely connected to everyone. They were connected to the right people. They understood that power is not measured by the size of your network. It is measured by your ability to act without constantly seeking permission. The uncomfortable truth is that every relationship carries a hidden cost. A cost paid in time. A cost paid in energy, a cost paid in freedom. This doesn't mean relationships are bad. Far from it. The right relationships can multiply your opportunities and accelerate your success, but only when they are chosen deliberately, not collected blindly. Because there is a profound difference between owning relationships and being owned by them. One creates leverage, the other creates dependency. And most people spend their lives chasing connections without ever asking a simple question. Is this relationship increasing my freedom or slowly taking it away? Because in the end, freedom is not determined by how many people know you. Freedom is determined by how many people you must answer to. And that is a game very few people truly understand. Most people misunderstand how power works. They imagine power as something loud, a title, a large audience, a corner office, a position that everyone can see. But real power is rarely visible. In fact, the most powerful people in any system are often the ones nobody notices, because power does not come from controlling everything. Power comes from controlling the bottleneck. A bottleneck is the critical point where decisions, information, money, resources, or opportunities must pass. And whoever controls that point controls the outcome. Think about it. An airport may have thousands of passengers, hundreds of employees, millions of dollars flowing through it every day. But if one small control tower stops functioning, everything comes to a halt, not because it is the biggest part of the system, but because it is the most necessary. The same principle exists everywhere, in business, in politics, in organizations, and even in everyday life. Most people spend years trying to become more important. The powerful spend years becoming more necessary. They don't ask, how can I get more attention? They ask, what part of this system cannot function without me? Because attention is temporary. Necessity creates leverage. And leverage creates power. This is why some employees earn ordinary salaries, while others quietly become indispensable. It is why some companies dominate entire industries without being the largest. And it is why a single decision-maker can influence outcomes affecting thousands of people. They control a bottleneck. The uncomfortable truth is that most people focus on improving skills that make them better workers. Very few focus on becoming the bridge between problems and solutions, the connector between people and opportunities, the gatekeeper of valuable information, the owner of a resource that others cannot easily access. Yet these are the positions where influence grows. Human nature follows a simple rule. People value what they cannot easily replace. The moment others depend on something you control, your importance changes. Not because you became smarter, not because you became more charismatic, but because the cost of bypassing you became too high. This is why the powerful rarely chase recognition. They don't need to. Their position does the work for them. People come to them because they have no better alternative. And that is the secret most people never learn. Success is not about standing in the spotlight. It is about standing at the crossroads, the place where decisions must pass, the place where opportunities must pass, the place where value must pass. Because when you control the bottleneck, you no longer compete for power. Power naturally flows toward you. And the most dangerous person in any system is not the loudest voice. It is the person everyone depends on without realizing it. Most people have no problem staying busy. The real problem is that they mistake being busy for making progress. And nowhere is this illusion more dangerous than in networking. Attend enough conferences, collect enough business cards, schedule enough coffee meetings, and you begin to feel successful. Your calendar is full. Your inbox is active. Your contact list keeps growing. From the outside, it looks like momentum. But is it really? Or is it simply movement without direction? Human beings are vulnerable to a psychological trap known as action bias. We naturally assume that doing something is better than doing nothing. Activity feels productive. Motion feels meaningful, even when neither produces real results. This is why networking can become so addictive. It gives us the emotional satisfaction of progress without requiring the discomfort of actual achievement. It's easier to attend another event than to build a valuable skill. Easier to schedule another meeting than to create something people need. Easier to introduce yourself to powerful people than to become powerful yourself. And because networking generates immediate social rewards, most people never question whether it's actually moving them forward. They simply assume that more connections will eventually solve their problems. But power doesn't come from appearing active. Power comes from creating value. History is filled with people who spent years building relationships, yet remained insignificant. And it's filled with others who spent years mastering a craft, solving difficult problems, or building valuable assets only to discover that opportunities began finding them. The difference is simple. One group focused on visibility, the other focused on value. One group chased access, the other became worth accessing. The uncomfortable truth is that many people use networking as a sophisticated form of procrastination. They tell themselves they're working on their future. But in reality, they're avoiding the harder work that creates genuine leverage, because real progress is often invisible. It's learning a difficult skill, building expertise, creating systems, developing something so useful that people willingly seek you out. None of those activities generate immediate applause, but they generate something far more valuable: necessity. And necessity creates influence. The next time you feel productive because you've attended another event or added another contact to your network, ask yourself a difficult question. Did I actually become more valuable today? Or did I simply become busier? Because the marketplace doesn't reward effort that looks impressive. It rewards outcomes. And there is a profound difference between moving and advancing. One burns time. The other changes your future. Most people never learn that distinction, which is why they spend years networking, while someone else quietly becomes impossible to ignore. Why do people desire things the moment they become difficult to access? Why does a sold-out product suddenly become more attractive? Why does a person seem more interesting when they stop replying? Why do luxury brands charge thousands of dollars for items that cost only a fraction to produce? The answer lies in one of the oldest psychological principles in human nature. Scarcity creates value. Not because something becomes objectively better, but because it becomes harder to obtain. Most people spend their lives trying to become more accessible. They answer every message immediately, accept every invitation, make themselves available to everyone. They believe accessibility makes them valuable, but reality often works in the opposite direction. The more available something becomes, the less people tend to appreciate it. Human beings are wired to associate rarity with importance. When something is easy to get, we assume it has little value. When something is difficult to access, we assume it must be valuable. This principle influences nearly every aspect of society. Luxury brands limit supply. Elite universities limit admissions. Exclusive clubs limit membership. Not because scarcity is unfair, but because scarcity increases perceived value. And the same principle applies to people. The most respected individuals are rarely the most available. The most influential people are often selective with their time. Not because they are arrogant, but because they understand something most people never learn. Unlimited access destroys perceived value. Think about it. If a CEO instantly responded to every email, attended every meeting, and accepted every request, would people respect their time more or less? If a world-class expert made themselves available to everyone at all times, would their expertise feel more valuable or more ordinary? The answer is obvious. Scarcity creates importance. Accessibility creates familiarity. And familiarity often reduces perceived value. This doesn't mean becoming cold, distant, or manipulative. It means understanding that your time, attention, and energy are finite resources. Every yes costs something. Every commitment consumes a piece of your life. The most successful people understand that protecting these resources is not selfish, it's strategic, because the modern world rewards attention, and attention follows scarcity. People notice what is rare. They pursue what feels exclusive. They respect what appears difficult to obtain. This is why powerful individuals are often misunderstood. Observers assume they are intentionally creating distance. In reality, they are simply protecting what has become valuable. Their focus, their time, their energy. And perhaps the most important lesson of all is this. You do not increase your value by making yourself available to everyone. You increase your value by becoming selective about where your attention goes. Because in the end, the goal is not to be seen everywhere. The goal is to be present where it matters most. The marketplace is full of people fighting for attention. Very few understand how to make attention come to them. And that begins the moment you realize that scarcity is not a limitation. It is a source of power. Because what everyone can have, nobody treasures. But what few can access, everyone desires. Most people spend their lives asking the wrong question. They wake up every day wondering, who can help me? Who should I meet? Who has the connections I need? Who can open the next door for me? And without realizing it, they place themselves in a position of dependence. Because the moment your success depends entirely on someone else's approval, you've already given away a portion of your power. This is how most people approach life. They search for mentors. They search for opportunities. They search for influential people. They search for shortcuts, always looking outward, always hoping someone else will change their future. But the people who eventually gain influence think differently. They stop asking, who do I need? And start asking, who needs me? That single shift changes everything. Because power is never created by dependency. Power is created by usefulness. The marketplace does not reward people who need opportunities. It rewards people who create value. Think about the most influential individuals in any industry. The most successful entrepreneurs, the most respected experts, the most sought-after professionals. At some point, they stopped chasing validation and started building something others could not easily replace. They developed skills. They solved problems. They created systems. They produced results. And gradually the dynamic changed. Instead of asking for attention, they began receiving it. Instead of requesting opportunities, opportunities began seeking them out. Because human nature follows a simple principle. People are drawn toward value, not neediness. This is why desperation is rarely attractive, whether in business, careers, relationships, or leadership. The more you signal that you need something from others, the less leverage you possess. But when people recognize that your presence improves outcomes, increases profits, solves problems, or creates opportunities, everything changes. You stop being a seeker. You become an asset. And assets are pursued. Consider a simple question. If you disappeared tomorrow, who would be affected? Who would lose something valuable? Who would notice more than your absence? Who would feel the consequences of it? Because that is where real influence begins. Not when people know your name, not when people admire your success, but when people depend on the value you bring. The truth is uncomfortable. Most people spend years trying to gain access to powerful individuals. Very few spend those years becoming someone powerful people would want access to. And that is the hidden difference between those who constantly chase opportunities and those who seem to attract them effortlessly. One side asks, who can change my life? The other asks, how can I become so valuable that my presence changes the lives of others? The first creates competition. The second creates leverage. And leverage is where influence begins. Because the moment people need what you provide, the balance of power shifts. Doors open more easily. Conversations become different. Opportunities appear more frequently, not because the world suddenly became fair, but because value naturally attracts attention. So before asking who can help you reach the next level, ask yourself a harder question. What have I built, mastered, or created that makes others want to reach me? Because the people who change their lives are rarely the ones chasing opportunity. They are the ones becoming impossible to overlook. Most people spend their lives chasing popularity. They want more followers, more recognition, more approval, more people talking about them. And in today's world, it's easy to understand why. Every platform rewards visibility. Every algorithm rewards attention. Every trend encourages people to become more noticeable. But there is a hidden weakness in building your life around popularity. Popularity is fragile. It depends on public interest. And public interest is one of the most unstable forces in existence. People admire you today, forget you tomorrow. The internet creates celebrities overnight and replaces them just as quickly. What is celebrated today becomes ordinary next year. What dominates attention today disappears from memory tomorrow. This is why the pursuit of popularity is often a dangerous trap. Because attention can be given, but it can also be taken away. Real power operates differently. Real power is built on irreplaceability. An irreplaceable person does not rely on constant attention. They rely on unique value. Their importance is not measured by how many people know them. It is measured by how difficult it would be to replace them. Think about the individuals who quietly shape the world. The engineer who understands a system no one else fully understands. The entrepreneur whose vision drives an entire company. The advisor whose judgment influences critical decisions. The creator whose work cannot be easily replicated. Many of these people are not famous. Some are barely known outside their industries. Yet their influence is enormous. Because influence is not created by visibility. It is created by necessity. Human nature follows a simple law. People protect what they depend on. And the moment others depend on your skills, your judgment, your expertise, or your ability to solve difficult problems, your position changes. You no longer compete for attention, you command respect. The modern world has convinced many people that success is about standing out. But the truly powerful understand something deeper. Success is about standing apart. Standing apart through competence, through mastery, through value that cannot be easily duplicated. The goal is not to become the loudest voice. The goal is to become the voice that matters when decisions must be made. This is why some people spend years building an audience yet remain vulnerable, while others quietly build expertise and become indispensable. One group is chasing attention, the other is building leverage, and leverage survives long after attention fades. Ask yourself a difficult question. If you disappeared from your profession, your business, your organization, or your industry tomorrow, what would happen? Would people simply notice your absence, or would they feel the consequences of losing you? Because there is a profound difference between being appreciated and being essential. One creates admiration, the other creates influence. And influence is what lasts. In the end, the most successful people do not win because they are the most popular. They win because they become the hardest to replace. Because popularity attracts eyes, but irreplaceability changes outcomes. And in every system, every organization, and every marketplace, the individuals who create the greatest impact are rarely those demanding attention. They are the ones whose value makes attention inevitable. So stop asking how to become more famous. Stop asking how to become more visible. Ask a better question. What can I build, master, or contribute that would make replacing me extraordinarily difficult? Because the ultimate goal is not popularity. The ultimate goal is becoming indispensable. And once that happens, influence is no longer something you chase. It becomes something that naturally follows you.